I never imagined my friendship with a poor girl could change a millionaire's life forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started like any other day. The sun was shining, birds were singing. But something felt off. My heart raced. I pushed the door open to her small, cramped apartment, the musty smell hitting me like a wave. Emily was sitting on the floor, a stack of bills spread out like a desperate game of poker. The tears streamed down her cheeks. I could see the fear in her eyes, like a fragile glass about to shatter. Emily was my best friend, but she lived a life so different from mine. I grew up in a household with silver spoons and private schools. She, on the other hand, wore hand-me-downs, her shoes barely held together by hope. If you walked by her building, you might not even notice it. It blended into the concrete jungle, as if trying to hide from the world. But I knew better. I saw her heart rough around the edges, but bursting with dreams that we first met on the playground when we were just kids. I was on the swings, soaring through the air, feeling invincible. There she was, peering through the chain-link fence, a spark of curiosity in her eyes. I invited her to join me. In that moment, a friendship blossomed, unbreakable yet so fragile. But that day was different. As Emily sobbed, I felt my chest tighten. The weight of her suffering pressed heavily on my shoulders. She couldn't pay rent. No job. No way out. My mind raced with a million thoughts. I could feel the silence wrap around us, a suffocating blanket. Her trembling hands reached for mine, squeezing tightly as if she feared I would disappear did I all spiral from there. I didn't know how to save her. I wanted to scream, but the sound was stuck in my throat. Instead, I promised her that we would figure this out together. It felt hollow, but I needed to believe it. Just then, the phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. My heart pounded. I hesitated, glancing at Emily's anxious face. I picked up. Hello. I braced myself, my breath shallow. A strange voice spoke, "You need to see this." "It's about Emily." My stomach dropped. The world felt like it was tilting. Questions raced through my mind. What could this possibly mean? What did they know? A shiver ran down my spine. I glanced at Emily, whose eyes were wide with fear and confusion that I knew I had to uncover the truth. But with each moment, deeper shadows began to surround us. What was I walking into? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I stepped outside the apartment, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on me like a lead blanket. I could still hear the tremor of Emily's sobs echoing in my mind, a haunting melody that refused to fade. I had promised to help her, but how could I, with resources that felt so distant and unfamiliar? I took a deep breath, letting the late afternoon sun warm my skin for a moment. Then, the unease returned. I hurried down the narrow hall and into the peeling staircase, my heart pounding with every step. The voice on the phone had sounded urgent, grim. I clutched my phone tightly as if it were a life raft in a roiling sea. What could they know? What consequences awaited Emily? Outside, the streets were alive with the typical hustle of the city, yet I felt entirely disconnected, as if an invisible barrier separated me from the vibrant life around me. The sky was streaked with fiery oranges and purples, a stunning sunset that contrasted sharply with the chaos in my chest. I glanced at my phone again, waiting to see if they would call back, if they would shed any light on the matter. That I decided to walk to the cafe downtown, a favorite spot of ours. It was the kind of place that smelled like freshly brewed coffee and pastries, where memories of laughter and carefree chatter filled the air. I thought it might comfort me, even if just for a moment, against the encroaching darkness. As I pushed open the cafe door, the familiar bell chimed. The barista waved with a smile, her warmth wrapping around me like a soft blanket. I ordered a cappuccino and took a seat at our usual table, an old wooden number that bore the scars of countless conversations. As I stirred the foam, my mind raced with possibilities. What if Emily had a hidden past? What if something beyond her immediate struggles was at play? I quickly dismissed those thoughts, afraid they were merely manifestations of my fear. But then I remembered the voice on the other end of the line had said they had something to share about Emily. I felt nauseous. Just as I was about to spiral into another anxious thought, a gentle voice interrupted me. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" I looked up to see a woman in her 50s, her silver hair glimmering under the cafe lights, a warm smile illuminating her kind features. "No, please," I replied, gesturing to the empty chair. She sat down, her presence grounding. "You seem a bit lost in thought," she remarked, studying my face. "Everything okay?" Her kindness surprised me. I had expected indifference from strangers, but she genuinely seemed to care. "My friend, she's going through a hard time." The woman nodded, her expression softening. "I understand. Sometimes we feel like the weight of the world is on our shoulders. I've been there. Would you like to talk about it?" I hesitated, every instinct telling me to close off and protect Emily's privacy. But something in the warmth of her gaze encouraged me to share. I found myself recounting Emily's plight, the bills, the desperation, the phone call that had me on edge. As I spoke, I realized the grip of panic had loosened slightly. It was a relief to voice my worries out loud, even to a stranger. "That sounds really tough," the woman said, her fingers gently tapping the table. "It's commendable that you want to help her. Not everyone would do that. Sometimes, just being there for someone, listening, can mean the world." Her words were a balm to my frayed emotions. In this chaotic moment, a flicker of hope ignited in my heart. Perhaps I didn't have to shoulder the burden alone, perhaps it was enough to simply stand by Emily's side. Just then, my phone buzzed violently on the table, making my heart leap. I snatched it up, adrenaline surging as I recognized the number. It was the same one from earlier. "Sorry, I need to take this," I said quickly to the woman, who nodded, her expression supportive yet concerned that I stepped outside, the urgency of the moment heightening my senses. "Hello," I answered breathlessly. "Did you find out what you need to know?" The voice was low, almost predatory. "Who are you? What do you know?" "About Emily?" There was a pause, and I could feel the air thicken with tension. "Meet me at the park in an hour. You need to hear this in person." As I hung up, dread coursed through my veins. The woman's kind presence felt distressingly far away now. I wasn't just worried for Emily's future, I had unwittingly stepped into something far darker than I could have imagined. Could I trust this mysterious voice? What truths awaited? My heart raced with uncertainty as I gazed at the sprawling city before me, feeling small and fragile amidst the overwhelming reality I was about to confront. One thing was clear, whatever I was about to discover could change everything, not only for Emily but for me as well. With a heavy heart, I walked toward the park, the trees swaying in the evening breeze as if whispering secrets I was not meant to hear. Each step felt like I was walking toward the unknown, the weight of anxiety settling back in my chest. I replayed the call over and over in my mind, each word echoing ominously. What could they possibly know that I did not? Arriving at the park, the tranquility seemed an absurd contrast to the storm brewing inside me. Children laughed nearby, the sound of their innocence tugging at the corners of my heart. I spotted a park bench bathed in the fading light, a few spots of bright daffodils nearby, their vibrant yellow helping momentarily to alleviate the darkness that surrounded my thoughts. That I sat, the cold metal pressing against me like a reminder of the job I needed to do. Time was ticking, and I mentally cursed myself for not preparing better, for not knowing how to save Emily from whatever abyss she was looking at. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I picked at the grass, feeling a sense of loathing for my powerlessness. Just as I began to doubt if I could carry on this solitary burden, a figure emerged from the shadows, wrapping a dark hoodie around their form. The voice had been familiar yet intimidating, and now I wasn't sure if I was ready for the face behind the enigmatic number. As they approached, the dim light revealed a young man, perhaps in his late 20s, his expression unreadable. My throat tightened as he reached the bench. "You're here," he said, his tone clipped but with an undertone layered with urgency. "Where's the information you promised?" I demanded, fighting to keep my tone steady despite the fear curling around my insides. He glanced around, as if ensuring we were truly alone, before taking a seat beside me. "You need to know about Emily, but first you need to understand why she has been distant." I barely nodded, my muscles tense and eyes fixed on him. "Just tell me. There are things in her past she hasn't disclosed. I'm here to warn you." He hesitated, gauging my reaction. "She was involved with a group that, well, let's just say it didn't end well. There are people looking for her." The ground beneath me felt like it shifted, my entire being reeling. "What do you mean? Looking for her? Why? What did she do?" "Things happen in desperation, and sometimes, paths cross that lead to consequences no one is prepared for," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper, eyes darting. "She got tied up with the wrong crowd, people who deal in dangerous debt. She has been trying to escape, but there's no way out without paying a price." I struggled to process his words, my chest tightening as the realization began to crash over me like waves. "And you think I can help her?" "I don't even know where to begin." He locked eyes with me, an intensity in his gaze that made my heart race. "You need to convince her to trust you fully. She is scared, and if she tries to go it alone." "What? What will happen?" I pressed, desperate to extract clarity from this chaotic swirl. "She won't be safe. They don't let go so easily. Money is not the only thing they want from her." A chill ran down my spine as the implications hung thick between us. "What can I do?" In that moment of vulnerability, he shifted closer. "You'll need to confront her. She is hiding things, and if you don't get the whole story, you won't be able to save her." I nodded slowly, the gravity of his words sinking in. "What if she won't let me in? What if she pushes me away again?" The young man leaned back, contemplating my question. "You'll need to dig deeper. Maybe try to show her that not all bonds are forged in darkness. There is still light if she lets it in." A flicker of uncertainty stirred within me as he spoke, but the conviction in his voice reignited the hope for Emily that I had felt in the cafe. "I'll do whatever it takes," I declared, determination igniting within me. He appeared to consider my words seriously before nodding. "Remember, if they find out you're getting involved, that could put you both in danger." I took a breath, the seriousness of his warning pushing me into an even deeper resolve. But just as I turned to question him further, his phone buzzed violently in his pocket. "I have to go," he stated, urgency brushing his features. "Be careful, and if you find out anything crucial, call me." He stood quickly, leaving me with a number scribbled hastily on a scrap of paper. I reached out my hand in confusion, heart pounding, but he was already slipping into the shadows of the park. Suddenly, I felt more alone than ever, the weight of the knowledge and responsibility colliding within me. What had I just uncovered? As night fell, cloaking the park in darkness, one question haunted me: what would I have to sacrifice to help the girl I cared about most? Time was not on my side, and I could feel the tension thickening with every passing second. The chill of the evening air wrapped around me as I stared at the empty space where the young man had just been. His words danced in my mind, echoing ominously and deepening the knot of anxiety nestled in my chest. I felt lost, thrust into uncharted waters where every ripple seemed to threaten to drag me under. I glanced at the number scrawled on the scrap of paper, the ink almost smudging in the twilight. It felt heavier than it should, as if it contained not just digits but a lifeline to the answer I desperately sought, a path to Emily's truth. That I took a deep breath and pocketed the paper, the metal of the bench biting cold against my skin, grounding me. I rose slowly, determination coursing through me like fire. I had to reach her and show her she wasn't alone in this battle. The thought of her frightful isolation stirred a pang of sadness and urgency, pushing me to move faster. Walking through the park, the sounds of laughter and chatter faded away as my focus narrowed, a singular thought propelling me forward. I needed to find Emily. The thought of her scared and alone ignited something primal inside me. Perhaps even more than a romantic inclining, it was the sheer desire to protect and stand by her when she needed me most. As I made my way back to the cafe where we often met, I noticed the outside lights flickering slightly, reflecting my wavering hope. Under normal circumstances, our gatherings were spattered with warmth and laughter, yet I knew tonight would be different. I feared that the shadows lurking within her would threaten to engulf the light of our friendship. That I pushed open the cafe door, the familiar scent of brewed coffee enveloping me. I spotted her at our usual table, the dim overhead lights catching her auburn hair, now slightly disheveled. Her expression was as closed off as ever, and I could see the hollowness hidden within her gaze. It felt as if the world outside had vanished, leaving only the two of us standing on the precipice of an unspoken chasm. "Hey, Emily," I said gently, taking a seat across from her. She looked up briefly, a wave of defensiveness washing over her features, then returned her gaze to her half-empty cup. "I didn't expect to see you here," she muttered, a strained edge creeping into her voice. I hesitated, unsure of how to breach the subject that weighed heavily on my heart. "I've been worried about you." There it was, the glimmer of vulnerability behind her facade, but just as quickly, it fled, replaced by a tight-lipped silence. "Emily," I began again, striving to keep my voice steady. "Please, can I help you? I know things haven't been easy." I don't need your help," she shot back, eyes flashing with defiance. There was a moment of silence between us. I could feel the tension rising, the misunderstandings wrapping around us like a cocoon. It was clear she was pushing me away, and yet something inside me refused to relent. "You don't get it," I insisted gently. "You're not alone in this. You don't have to carry it all by yourself." Her gaze finally met mine, and for a heartbeat, I saw the longing for connection flicker there before it was snuffed out by fear. "You don't know what you're asking for," she whispered, the fierce facade beginning to crumble. "I'm willing to understand, but you need to let me in." "Please," I urged, the vulnerability seeped through her shield like sunlight through storm clouds. I saw her wrestle with some internal battle, a battle that threatened to push her further from me, yet offered a tentative hope of bringing her back. "Why do you care so much?" she finally asked, her voice trembling slightly. That I hesitated, the weight of her question crashing down on me. What was it that made me care so deeply about her? "Because you matter to me," I said earnestly, hoping my sincerity would resonate. Suddenly, her phone buzzed violently on the table, breaking the moment like glass shattering on the floor. She jumped, the look of fear rushing back in an instant. "I have to go," she blurted, scrambling to her feet, and I felt my heart sink as the gap between us widened again. "Wait. Just give me a chance to be there for you," I implored, desperation pouring from my words. But she hesitated only for a brief moment before shaking her head, fear eclipsing whatever flicker of openness I had witnessed. She turned and fled the cafe. That I felt a mix of helplessness and frustration, the magnitude of her struggles feeling impossibly out of reach. The way she had looked at me just for a split second made me believe she'd been teetering on the edge of something monumental. Maybe she still was, but suddenly, the phone buzzed again, and I saw it sitting there on the table, a reminder of what was at stake. I reached for it instinctively, but as my fingers brushed against it, I paused. What if it held the answers I sought, the key to understanding Emily's darkness, the key to unlocking her trust? With determination ignited again, I grabbed her phone, stepped out into the night, and made my way toward the park. If she wouldn't let me in, then I would find another way to uncover the truth. But as I walked, an unsettling feeling constricted my throat. What if this decision led me deeper into a world I wasn't prepared to face? What secrets would unravel as I delved into Emily's reality? My heart raced with both fear and anticipation, knowing that every step I took brought me closer to a revelation that could change everything for both of us or possibly destroy us entirely. The park's familiar path stretched out before me, but the shadows cast by the scattered lampposts seemed to elongate into sinister shapes. My palms clutched Emily's phone tightly, a small, tangible connection to her that both comforted and terrified me. Every few steps, I could feel a pit growing in my stomach, questioning whether I had crossed an invisible line. Under the soft glow of the streetlights, I hesitated, looking down at the phone. It felt heavy, as if it contained a world of secrets more daunting than I dared to imagine. Could I really sift through her private messages and be able to understand her pain more deeply, or would it only bring new burdens upon both of us? Taking a deep breath, I found a bench nestled under a tree, the leaves whispering softly around me. With trembling fingers, I unlocked her phone, the screen illuminating her last few messages. My heart jumped as the first was from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Tonight. It's important." A sense of trepidation washed over me. Who was this person? I scrolled lower, uncovering fragments of conversations that left me feeling increasingly anxious. There were days filled with desperate confessions mixed with apologies. A sense of panic threaded through my veins when I stumbled upon an exchange involving plans that hinted at something beyond mere friendship and trust. Something darker. "Will you meet me? We can't keep doing this," was followed by replies that gnawed at me. Another name slipped through, a name I didn't recognize, yet it felt heavy with implications. Tears of frustration blurred my vision, and I quickly wiped them away, trying to shake off the feeling of trespassing into her world. Suddenly, the screen lit up with a new notification, another message pinging in. It was from that unknown number again. "I know you're scared. But you need to make a choice. We can't wait much longer." I could feel every muscle in my body tighten, the urge to ignore the message battling against my overwhelming need to protect Emily. It was clear this wasn't just about her anymore, it was about the dangers she faced. What had I stumbled into? Was she part of something sinister? I felt a chill breeze slice through the air, and an urge to act surged within me like a tidal wave. Every instinct urged me to confront her again, to break through her barriers and protect her from whatever was lurking in the shadows of her life. Just as I was about to reply to the mysterious number, my phone buzzed in my pocket, a notification that felt distant and unrelated. I flicked it open, scanning the screen that revealed an unknown caller. My heart raced. What if it was related to Emily? I hesitated and then swiped to answer, hoping it was a lifeline leading to the answers I so desperately sought. "Hello." I breathed into the phone, every syllable heavy with anticipation. There was a pause before a voice, gravelly, yet familiar, slipped through the receiver. "Is this you? I didn't expect you to pick up." It was him, the young man from the park. My heart sank as I realized the web of connections was becoming more intricate by the second. "What do you want? You need to listen closely. You're digging into something you don't understand. And it puts you both in danger," he warned, his tone serious yet strained. I felt a rush of anger and fear bubble within me. "What do you know about Emily? What do you want from her?" "More than I can say," he replied, but this time, I sensed a hint of vulnerability lacing his words. "But trust me when I say she's in deeper than you realize. She thinks she's protecting you by pushing you away," but then the line went dead, leaving a heavy silence hanging in the crisp night air. I stared at the screen, my heart racing, feeling like I was teetering on the edge of a secret as daunting as the void created by Emily's absence. Everything I felt just moments ago transformed into a sickening uncertainty. The urgency to protect her warred with the growing trepidation about the force that loomed behind her. I couldn't just stand by and let her slip through the cracks, yet I could feel the walls constricting around me as if I were wrapped in a noose. The darkness pressed in once more, and with shaky hands, I began to type a response to the unknown sender. "I want to meet. Tell me where." But before I could press send, My phone buzzed again, another message from Emily. You shouldn't have touched my phone. Just stay away from me. My heart plummeted, realization drowning me. She was pushing me away again, and this time, she might just succeed. The night felt heavier than ever before, filled with unanswered questions that twisted uncomfortably within me. How could I reach her if the very thing that brought me closer also drove her further away? And perhaps more alarmingly, who was I really protecting her from? The chill of the evening deepened, engulfing me in a feeling of helplessness laced with dread. The cold bench beneath me felt like an anchor, holding me to the earth while my thoughts spiraled into chaos. I kept staring at Emily's last message, its sharpness cutting through the fog of confusion. Stay away from me. Each word echoed in my mind, her plea resonating like a haunting refrain, leaving me breathless. I felt like I was losing her at every turn, and this new conflict within me clashed against the fragile hope that flickered in the depths of my heart. Could this really be the end? As I clutched my phone tighter, I couldn't shake the feeling of urgency. From every exchange I had read, every word that lingered in the air, it was clear something was terribly wrong. Determined not to be pushed away without a fight, I rose from the bench, propelled by instinct and fear. I would find her, confront her about what I had uncovered, and somehow I would get through to her. The path to her apartment was familiar, yet tonight it felt darker, as if the shadows were conspiring against me. With each step, the old memories of laughter and warmth became tinged with a sense of foreboding, intertwining joy and heartache. I remembered her smile, the brightness that filled the air when she was near, and I couldn't bear the thought of losing that light to whatever threat loomed in the corners of her life. The apartment building loomed ahead, its facade more imposing than I remembered. I took a deep, steadying breath and walked through the entrance, a mixture of resolve and dread swirling within me. As I approached her floor, every sound felt amplified: the creaking of the stairs, the soft hum of distant voices, and my own heart pounding in my ears. When I reached her door, I hesitated for just a moment, my hand poised to knock. 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind, envisioning possibilities of how she might react. Would she be angry? Scared? Or perhaps relieved to see me? The uncertainty twisted like a knife in my gut. Finally, I rapped gently on the door, and the silence that followed was agonizing. I could hear her faint movements behind the barrier, and each second stretched infinitely. Would she even open the door? Would she welcome me, or would she shove me away? The click of the latch echoed like a gunshot in the quiet hallway, and as the door creaked open, I was met with Emily's disheveled appearance. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and the light from the hallway illuminated the dark circles under them, hinting at sleepless nights and the weight she carried. "Why are you here?" she said, a mixture of surprise and anger flashing across her features. "Because I'm worried about you," I blurted out, my voice trembling. "You pushed me away, and I don't understand why. What is happening, Emily?" She cast her gaze downward, the vulnerability in her expression making my heart ache. "You shouldn't have looked at my phone. It was wrong of you," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe, but I needed to know. I couldn't just stand by, not when you're involved with someone dangerous," I replied, my frustration boiling over. "Please, just tell me the truth." The air between us thickened, punctuated by her silence, and I felt the distance grow. An overwhelming sense of helplessness threatened to swallow me whole. "Emily, you don't have to face this alone. Don't you get it?" she interrupted, her voice sharper, as if trying to break free from the emotional bonds that tied her. "I am trying to protect you. I'm in way over my head, and if you stay, you'll get hurt. I can't bear to lose you." My heart sank. "So that's it? You're just going to push me away because you think you can handle this alone?" A flicker of desperation crossed her face. "What do you want me to say? That I'm in trouble? That I've made mistakes I can't undo?" Her voice cracked, and I saw tears pooling in her eyes. "I never wanted this for you." Suddenly, a loud noise echoed from down the hall, startling us both. A group of strangers walked briskly past, their laughter and loud voices echoing ominously. Emily flinched and stepped back, her worry palpable. The longer you stay here, the more danger you're in, she said quickly, her demeanor shifting again as she glanced back at the closed door. Please, you need to go. My instincts screamed at me not to leave, that there was something more beneath the surface of her words. I want to go, Emily. Not now. Not like this, I insisted, my voice steadying in the face of her fear, but the tension in her gaze told me this was about more than just her, it was about a choice that could lead to irrevocable consequences. Please, she begged, a mixture of frustration and desperation reflecting in her eyes. Just go. You don't understand. You can't get involved in this. A heavy pause ensued, the unspoken words hanging between us like a thick fog. I felt the impending storm of chaos lurking in the background, and in that moment, I realized how deeply the battle within her had entrenched itself. As I opened my mouth to argue, the sudden sound of her phone buzzing on the counter cut through the tension like a knife. The screen lit up with the same unknown number ID seen earlier, the one that sent my mind reeling. Her eyes widened in fear, and I knew then that whatever was happening was much worse than I had imagined. I took a step forward, heart pounding. What is that? Before she could answer, a loud knock reverberated against her door, more insistent than before, shaking the fragile stability of our moment. The urgency in that knock chilled me to the bone. Was that the person behind the messages? Emily, I whispered urgently, who is that? She looked past me, terror etched across her face, and in that harrowing moment, I realized the peril lurking just beyond her door, a shadow threatening to engulf us both, wrapping us in darkness. Everything I thought I knew about her shattered into pieces, revealing a dazzling and terrifying truth that could unravel everything we had fought for. What is going on? I demanded, my voice rising as the atmosphere charged with fear. Just please, she pleaded, tears brimming on her lashes, you have to trust me. Whatever this is, it's not what you think. But as the doorknob twisted, I knew that trust might not be enough. A surge of dread filled the space between us, we were at the brink of something unspeakable. The choice we both had to make loomed over us like a dark cloud, and I could feel my world fraying at the edges. The door swung open, and I braced myself for whatever awaited us on the other side, knowing that from this moment on, nothing would ever be the same. The door swung open to reveal a figure cloaked in shadows, tall and imposing. The dim hallway light struggled to illuminate the features that mirrored the danger emanating from him. Emily instinctively stepped back, an ethereal defense mechanism that spoke volumes of her fear. Where is she? He demanded, his voice deep and menacing, slicing through the fragile atmosphere like glass. The urgency in his tone ignited a protective rage within me, stubborn and fierce. Emily, who is this? I shot a glance at her, searching for answers that I feared wouldn't come. The man's gaze turned to me, assessing, eyes narrowing as if he could see through my skin to the very core of my intent. You shouldn't be here, he said, a sardonic edge creeping into his words. This is none of your business. But it is my business, I replied, feeling the weight of my resolve tighten like a noose. She is my friend. I can't just stand aside while you threaten her. The man chuckled darkly, and the sound chilled my bones. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Emily is tangled in a web she can't escape from. And you think you can save her? It doesn't work that way. Emily's face paled, and I could see the storm brewing behind her facade, the agony she grappled with. Please, she whispered, her voice frayed with desperation. You don't need to do this. Just go. I can handle it. Her pleas felt like a hammer against the glass wall between us, each word brining cracks but unable to shatter the barrier of fear. The man shifted on his feet, annoyance flickering in the depths of his eyes. Handle it? Are you even aware of what you're in the midst of? He spat, his frustration palpable. This isn't just some petty issue. It's far beyond that, and your little bubble of friendship won't save you from what's at stake. A chill washed over me, a realization dawning like a dark cloud veiling the sun. There were layers here, complexities I couldn't see. The truth remained just out of reach, but I could feel its weight. I only know that something is wrong. And I refuse to let you intimidate her, I shot back defiantly, stepping protectively in front of Emily. She needed someone to stand beside her in this fight, and despite the overwhelming fear tugging at my chest, I wasn't ready to back down. The man looked incredulous, then broke into a sinister smile, one that twisted his handsome face into something grotesque. You should consider this a warning, kid. This game you're playing could cost you dearly. More than you're prepared to lose. Enough. Emily's voice pierced through the tension like a siren's wail. Just leave. You think I'm weak? You think you have control over me? You don't. Her defiance surprised me, a flicker of the Emily I once knew flashing through her anguish, but the man wasn't fazed. Instead, his expression darkened as he pulled something from his jacket pocket, a set of crisp papers, framed with authority. You think this is just about you two? There are powers at play that you can't even begin to understand. He stepped closer, brandishing the papers like weapons. This isn't just a personal matter. It's a threat to everything you love. My heart dropped. What do you mean? He pointed at me, his voice low and filled with menace. Your friendship with her puts all of this in jeopardy. I am warning you, stay away, or you'll find yourself at the center of something you can't escape. Emily flinched, fear washing over her face again. What did you do? She croaked, her voice trembling. The man leaned closer, a predatory smile creeping onto his mouth. You should focus on your mistakes, Emily. The clock is ticking, and soon it will be too late for anyone to save you. Or him. My world spun, a storm of confusion and anger roared inside me. What have you done to her? I pressed, unable to contain my rising dread. He merely laughed, a sound that reverberated with cruelty. The truth always finds a way to surface. You might think you're protecting her, but what if you're dragging her deeper into darkness? Before I could retort, he turned and walked away, leaving us in an icy silence. The doorframe glared back at me, the shadows retreating as the adrenaline bled from my veins. Emily's breath came in shaky bursts as she clutched the doorway, the weight of the moment dragging her to the ground. He knows. He knows everything, she murmured, her voice cracking. What does he mean? I asked, desperate for clarity, for any glimpse of what she was truly facing, but the answer hung in the air, intangible and painful. She couldn't bring herself to speak, her eyes filled with horror as they darted around the empty hallway, as if expecting the darkness to materialize before us. In that horrid silence, the emotional chasm between us deepened, my fears mingling with her despair. I wanted desperately to reach her, to mend the thread of connection we once had, but the reality of our situation pressed down like a heavy blanket, futile, burdensome. At that moment, I caught sight of something out of the corner of my eye. A shadow moving swiftly outside the window, an unfamiliar silhouette against the backdrop of city lights. My heart raced. Emily, we need to. But before I could finish, the lights flickered, plunging the hallway into a chilling darkness. Panic spiked through me like lightning, and I turned to her, grasping her shoulders. Emily, stay close. But as I looked around, she wasn't there. She had slipped from my grasp, vanishing into the shadows. A new wave of fear encapsulated me as I searched frantically, my mind racing with a single thought: I couldn't lose her now. Emily! I shouted, the sound echoing against the walls like a frantic heartbeat. But my voice was swallowed by the darkness around me, leaving nothing but an ominous silence, heavy with the weight of the unknown, and in that void, I realized with striking horror that our fight was nowhere near over. The path ahead was more treacherous than I had ever imagined, the consequences of our intertwined lives teetering on the edge like a precarious cliff. The darkness felt alive, a twisting entity that wrapped around my chest and squeezed. I stumbled into the corridor, my heart racing like a wild animal, dread pounding against my ribs. Emily! I called again, my voice trembling as it bounced off the barren walls. Each echo seemed to mock my desperation. A faint rustle caught my attention, and I turned sharply, my eyes straining to pierce the veil of shadows. "If you're hiding, it's not funny," I shouted, hoping my bravery masked the fear gnawing at me. There was no reply, just the sound of dripping water somewhere down the hall, adding an eerie soundtrack to the mounting tension. As I ventured deeper into the darkened corridor, a sliver of light spilled from a door left ajar at the end. It flickered with a pulse, as if urging me to come closer. I moved toward it, every instinct warning me that nothing good lay ahead, but the urgency of finding Emily propelled me forward. When I reached the door, my hand hesitated over the handle. Taking a deep breath, I pushed it open. Inside was a small room filled with old paper and remnants of what once might have been a vibrant life: faded photographs, yellowing letters, and dust-covered trinkets. In the corner, isolated by shadows, I spotted Emily kneeling on the floor, her shoulders shaking with quiet sobs. Relief flooded me temporarily, before dread tightened its grip again as I approached. "Emily." She looked up, and the anguish in her eyes sliced through me. "I can't do this. I can't." The words choked out of her, heavy with the weight of despair. "He was right, you don't understand. I'm already in too deep." "Then let me help you," I pleaded, kneeling beside her. "If there's a way out, if you can trust me, just tell me what is going on." A piercing gaze flickered across her face. "You want to save me, but what happens when he finds out?" She wrapped her arms around herself as if she could physically hold in her pain. "I won't be the only one who pays for this." The fleeting thought of losing Emily again, of not being able to protect her, gnawed at my insides. I brushed my fingers against her arm, trying to ignite that spark of connection that had kept us close for so long. "Emily, please. I don't care what danger he poses. I care about you." The moment seemed to hang between us, heavy and fraught with unspoken truths. But then the darkness seeped back in, and her eyes met mine with a raw honesty that broke my heart. "I wish it were that simple. There are forces at play that are beyond your comprehension. And now you're intertwined in it too." Something in her voice sent a chill rippling through me. "What does that mean? Are we in danger?" As if on cue, the flickering light sputtered violently before plunging the room into darkness again. I looked around, trying to discern any movement in the stifling blackness. "We need to move. Can you stand?" She hesitated, but then shook her head. "You don't understand. We can't leave yet. Until I do something. Until I make it right." Pain lanced through me. "What do you need to do, Emily? Just tell me." But instead of answering, she stared past me, her expression shifting into a mask of fear. I whipped around, my heart racing anew as I caught sight of him, the man who had threatened us before. He loomed in the doorway, his trademark smile absent, replaced by a cold, calculating gaze that made my stomach drop. "Did you think you could escape?" he questioned, his voice oozing with a twisted satisfaction. "Oh, Emily, you're far too naive." Panic surged in my veins. "Get away from her," I shouted, instinctively positioning myself between Emily and the dangerous shadow of a man. He merely laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. "Do you honestly believe you can protect her? She's made her choice." He glanced at Emily, his expression warped with mockery. "Are you ready to embrace your fate, my dear?" My thoughts raced, trying to piece together the threat in his words. "Emily, this isn't the way. We can find another path. There has to be a way. You don't have to go through whatever this is." But she didn't respond, her eyes widening in horror. I turned toward her, desperate for a sign, a hint that she could still fight. "Emily, please. Stand with me." The man took a step forward, and I felt the air thicken with a sense of inevitability. "You can't get in her way forever, kid. You don't know the storm that's coming." Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him with a resounding crash, cutting off any means of escape. I reached for the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Fear clawed at my throat as I turned and found Emily backing away slowly, each tiny step laden with resignation. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, anguish lining her features. "You shouldn't have been involved. I thought I could protect you." "Protect me? From what?" My voice was a mixture of confusion and rising dread. "Emily, don't you see? We can face it together." The shadows around us seemed to swell, a foreboding tide threatening to drown any flicker of hope. Just then, in the far corner of the room, something shifted, a dusty box, heavy and ornate, seemingly untouched by time. My pulse quickened as an idea struck. "What's in that box?" "Emily, whatever it is, it could help us." Her face fell, a realization crossing her features. "You shouldn't open that." I tried to leave it where it was. His voice rang out again, sharp and mocking. "Curiosity killed the cat, they say. But in this case, it might just reveal the truth." Tension crackled in the air, and the darkness felt heavier than ever. "Emily. I need you to trust me. We have to fight, together. We can't let fear or these obstacles divide us." As I reached for the box, I caught her eyes one last time, desperation mingling with a flicker of hope. "Are you ready?" The silence that followed was thick, charged with uncertainty. When she finally nodded, a single tear rolled down her cheek, a bittersweet blend of sadness and determination, yet, before I could lift the lid, the world around us trembled. An ominous rumble echoed along the walls, shaking the very foundation of the place. I froze, my hands suspended midair, staring into Emily's eyes, a silent question hanging between us. What had we just unleashed? In that moment, everything changed, and as the walls of our reality began to crack, I realized the fight ahead was larger and more dire than either of us had ever anticipated. And as chaos erupted, everything I thought I knew began to spiral into uncertainty. The echoes of the crumbling walls reverberated, merging with the frantic pounding of my heart. Instincts screamed at me to flee, yet my hand remained atop the ornate box, frozen in fear and anticipation. Emily's tear-streaked face reflected my growing dread, but there was also a flicker of something else, an invitation to explore an unknown territory together. "Emily," I whispered urgently, "what's in this box? You mentioned it before. What has it to do with the storm?" Her breath caught, a physical manifestation of uncertainty. "It's complicated," she finally responded, her voice trembling. "What it holds isn't just dangerous, it's a connection to him, to everything he embodies. If you open it," she hesitated, swallowing hard. "You might not be able to go back. Not ever." That chilling thought settled deep in my bones. The choice hung before me, heavy and oppressive. I swallowed hard, glancing from the box to her face. "Emily, we can't let fear dictate our actions. If this is our only chance." Before I could finish, the door rattled violently, and the man's voice surged through the gap, laced with cruel amusement. "You really think you can defy fate? The game has already begun." Sparks of defiance flared within me. "Emily," I urged, "whatever's in there, it can't be worse than what he has planned for us. We need a weapon, a way to turn the tide." A shifting from behind the box redirected our attention. Dust danced in the air as the tremors escalated, reverberating through the structure like a chorus rising to a crescendo. The secrets of this box could fracture the very foundation of our reality or bind us farther into his control, Emily warned, her voice thin. The man pushed against the door. "What's the matter? This isn't a game of hide and seek. Don't make me come in there." I grasped the weight of the box, feeling the rush of untamed energy thrumming beneath the surface. "Then let us leverage it. We can't let him dictate our fate. On three." Emily's resolve sparked back to life, and I saw the strength wrapped tightly around her fright. 1, 2. The door flung open with a force that sent shockwaves through the room. He stepped inside, eyes gleaming with perverse pleasure, anticipation twisting around him like a serpentine shadow. "What do you think you're going to do? He'll find you even if you think you're hidden away from him." In that moment, time hung suspended. I felt it, the desperation, the adrenaline, and the roaring call to action. 3. I shouted, ripping the box open. Inside lay a collection of delicate trinkets, ruby-studded rings, intricate charms, and what appeared to be an ancient pendant, glimmering with a faint, otherworldly light. A sweet scent wafted from the depths. Pure essence, primal energy encapsulated within those forgotten pieces, waiting for someone to unleash them. Emily gasped, recoiling as she recognized the pendant. No. You can't touch that. It's too powerful, too unpredictable. But it was already too late. I reached in, fingers grazing the pendant's cool surface, and without forethought, I lifted it into the air. The moment the light ignited, an ethereal glow pulsated around us, wrapping us in an aura of shimmering light. Damn it, what have you done? Emily cried, eyes wide as she backed against the wall, the dread pooling in her chest palpable. The man's amusement turned to fury, eyes narrowing, mouth twisting into a snarl. You don't know what you're tampering with. Just then, shadows erupted from the corners of the room, spawn of the darkness enveloping us. They surged toward us, lashing out as if drawn by the pendant's pulse. Emily! I shouted, stepping forward, shielded by the light radiating from my hand. We need to use it. It's protecting us. But as the shadows encroached, I felt a wave of disorientation wash over me. A vision flickered in the depths of my mind, a boy running, laughing, and above him, a figure cloaked in darkness but with a gentle face, whispering truths I couldn't grasp. The connection surged, a heartbeat in the void, a suggestive pull toward the box, and suddenly, I understood. This is a part of you, I murmured, turning to Emily, still glowing with resolution even as fear knit her brows. It tied your fate to his. We can break it, but only if we embrace the truth together. Do it then, she urged, her spirit igniting with fierce resolve. But if we can't control it, I'm not afraid, I declared, stepping even closer to the encroaching shadows. As I spoke those words, the pendant began to hum, vibrating with restless energy. I felt it shift, ready to respond to our courageous intent. The shadows recoiled momentarily, screeching back as if they had met a wall of radiant force. At that moment, a realization struck, a final piece of the puzzle we'd both been missing. He's bound to you, I urged Emily, and to this power. If we break you free from him, we can collapse his grip on us. Her eyes widened, understanding dawning. Then let us do it. We clasped hands over the pendant, and an electric surge coursed through us, intertwining our fates as the shadows flared to life, and the man's presence trembled momentarily, caught off guard. But just as we began to pull the strength within the pendant, a piercing scream echoed through the room, and the shadows violently swirled around us, threatening to swallow our light. And in that chaos, an image flashed, crackling like electricity, a glimpse into our intertwined destinies that neither of us could escape. But one thing was for certain, the stakes had just risen to an unimaginable height. The realization crashed over me, our fight was just beginning. As the shadows enveloped us completely, I felt a chilling certainty that what loomed ahead was the convergence of all our choices, connected in ways we hadn't yet grasped. And as the darkness closed in, I could only hold on tighter to Emily, praying that together, we could find a way through. The shadows swallowed every ounce of light in the room, wrapping around us like a serpent eager to keep us in their grasp. The metallic taste of fear filled my mouth as I tightened my grip on Emily's hand, our fingers laced together, our only lifeline in the storm threatening to consume us. I couldn't let go, not now. Emily, we won't let him win. We're stronger than this. I shouted, trying to push the desperate energy flowing around us into something tangible. The moment felt fraught, as if the air itself had shifted to become a weapon aimed directly at us. Her wide eyes reflected the chaotic dance of shadows, but beneath the surface, I could see the flicker of resolve igniting within her. You don't understand, she gasped, breathless as the darkness thrummed with an anxious rhythm. This thing isn't just connected to him, it's tied to everything I've ever done. I don't care about your past, Emily, I pressed, holding her gaze, willing her to see the truth. I care about you. Not your choices. We can break this together. And it was true, everything had led us to this moment, where we stood on the precipice of chaos, joined in resolution, facing whatever twisted fate sought to separate us. I felt the pendant pulsing against my skin, a heartbeat intertwined with our own. With one final breath, I lifted it higher, drawing our collective strength into its core. Light erupted from the pendant, burning brighter than the dark, cutting through their shrills as they recoiled, swirling like angry smoke. No! The man shouted, his voice hollow and distorted, filled with rage as he stepped forward. You think you can sever this bond? You misunderstand the inherent truth of your connection. Let us decide our fate. I yelled, drawing Emily closer, both our truths woven together. In that instant, all doubt mingled with the swell of courage, and I thrust the pendant into the chest of shadows. The air vibrated and exploded, scattering darkness like ashes blown away in the wind. Everything unraveled in a beautiful cacophony. Light clashed with shadow, weaving together threads of our histories, our fears, and our fledgling hope. I felt Emily's warmth beside me, igniting an unquenchable fire that spread through my veins. Together, we pushed through the turbulence, forcing the shadows to bend and shatter into shards of smoke. Stop! You don't know what you're doing. The man screamed, his voice swallowed by the eruption of light radiating from us. As the darkness began to shred apart, a roar rang out, reverberating through the room like thunder. I grasped Emily's hand tighter, focusing all of my energy into the light. We can finally be free. In that moment, every shadow dissolved, revealing a blindingly brilliant light that flooded the space and forced the remnants of the man's presence into retreat. And in the bursting light, what had once been our fears became clarity, the essence of truth floating down like feathers, whispering memories of pain, betrayal, but above all, forgiveness. The brightness dimmed, and suddenly stood the two of us in the middle of a room stripped bare, shadows forgotten, but not the scars left from the fight. The box lay shattered beside us, fragments shimmering with discarded ties of the past. I turned to Emily, my heart pounding with emotion. We did it. We broke free. But her expression drew tight with anguish. What have I done? All this time, I thought I could keep you safe, that I could run from this. I thought the best way to protect you was by pushing you away. No, I said gently, cupping her face in my palm. You don't get to decide that. It's not about you protecting me. It's about us fighting together with all our pasts, flaws, and mistakes. Tears glistened in her eyes, and the weight of her pain spilled forth like a waterfall. I've hurt you. I dragged you into my chaos, into my darkness. I shook my head vehemently. And you've shown me the light too. You don't need to carry this alone anymore. She took a deep breath, the tension carefully unwrapping itself within her. What if her voice quivered, barely forming a whisper? What if he comes back? Then we'll be ready for him, I declared, spirit lifting. We'll stand side by side, facing whatever comes. And if it ever feels heavy, we'll remind ourselves of today, of breaking the shadows. In that moment of surrender, a flicker of hope ignited between us. I pulled her into my arms, and for the first time, I felt her heart beat against mine, steady and strong. Thank you, she murmured into my shoulder, her body trembling, but this time from a release of relief rather than fear. No, thank you, I replied softly, until her laugh erupted, a sound that stirred warmth in my chest, the fears dissipating like mist beneath the morning sun. You are worth every fight, Emily. Together, we will find our way. As the weight of our struggle began to fade, a new sense of purpose enveloped us. This journey hadn't been solely about escaping darkness, it had been about creating a bond deeper than we had ever known, a heartfelt commitment to keep fighting for each other against all odds. And in that moment, I understood this emotional scar would make us, forever intertwined, reshaped through shared struggles. Together, we would create light from the shards of darkness that once sought to extinguish our bond. Whatever comes, we'll face it. I smiled as I stepped back, looking deeply into her eyes. Yes, she said, her voice steady. We had conquered the shadows, but more importantly, we had found each other anew. As I took her hand, I could finally see our future unfold, bright and defiant against any darkness, a testament to the power of love, and the belief that together, we would always endure. And a memory flooded my mind, the image of two children on a playground, their laughter echoing through the years, and I couldn't help but smile because I knew from this moment onward, we would create our own story, one where shadows would never reign again. As we stepped out into the day, the sun kissed our skin, promising a new beginning. In the end, love wasn't just our salvation, it had transformed us both. As we walked forward, hand in hand, a silent promise echoed between us: no darkness shall overcome us, for the light is ours to wield.